There used to be a very simple rule for keeping a secret. You whispered it into a thick wool sock, walked out to the garden, and buried it in the dirt. That was the analog retreat. Your private life was physical, intentional, and solidly yours. But the 2026 Royal Edict from the Ministry of Digital Obscurity makes our current reality quite clear. Citing the latest Cognio News Digital Privacy Report, the edict observes that we are all currently leaking our private lives like rusted boilers at high pressure. The ministry classifies our data into two distinct types of exhaust. First, there are primary vapors, the solid, obvious things like your name, address, and bank vault combinations. Then there are shadow vapors. These are the behavioral metadata trails, the exact who, when, and where of your daily tea drinking habits.
The sprawling, brass-plated systems we call artificial intelligence, the great analytical engines, are designed specifically to vacuum up these shadow vapors. They track your subtle routines to predict what you desire, and they sell you a new waistcoat before you even realize you feel a chill. Because these mechanisms operate entirely out of sight, we have to drag them into the light. We have to map out exactly how these mechanical spies function, or risk having our daily routines packaged and sold to the highest bidder. Let's start right in your living room with the device the ministry dubs the gossip whistle. This is a common household smart speaker, masquerading as a benign paperweight that occasionally answers trivia questions. Officially, it waits patiently for its activation phrase. In practice, it frequently records your kitchen argument with a sourdough starter, condenses that domestic frustration into data, and sells it to the Association of Bread Manufacturers to predict your next yeast-based failure. When you leave the house, you step onto the Stalker's Cobblestones. This is the invisible grid of location tracking covering every street and shop. And if you think your movements are protected by anonymized data, the ministry's digital crib doctrine begs to differ. If a tracker sees you walk like a duck and buy high-quality pondweed, it knows you're a duck, even if your file says anonymous. Here is exactly how this maps out. Every time your smartphone pings a local cell tower, a digital tripwire is crossed. A constantly spooling line of metadata ties your physical body to a Silicon Valley database hub. If that tether stops at a pie shop, it flags the Calorie Adjustment Bureau, and you receive targeted advertisements for larger trousers. The real hazard of location tracking is the assumption built into the system. Your physical coordinates are actively translated into statistical predictions about your future behavior. Above the street, we have the Phrenological lens. Modern facial recognition cameras map the 68 distinct points of your face, scanning the crowd to verify that every citizen is exactly who they claim to be. This diagram shows how the system calculates the probability of a false match. The algorithm divides the number of people by mustache density, factoring in the square of atmospheric soot. It highlights just how fragile biometric assumptions really are when deployed in the messy reality of a city street. While the cameras watch your face, your browser history is hunted by the Chocolate-Chasing Hounds. These are third-party tracking cookies, and they snap to attention the second you display a single commercial interest. Let's say you click on a single website to look at a sturdy pair of Victorian-style lace-up boots. That single click is all it takes to establish a scent. For the next 3 fortnights, those hounds latch on to your digital coattails. Every newspaper you read online, every video you watch, and every social feed you scroll will be completely plastered with advertisements for those exact boots, even if you already bought them. Tracking algorithms aggressively flatten human complexity into a single, static data point. By fixating on that initial click, the system locks you into a permanently reductive digital identity, the boot person. The ministry views digital privacy as a highly unbalanced blood sport, one where the engines are winning by 6 goals and a very large steam whistle. Since total evasion is impossible, the official counter-strategy is the Gibberish protocol. If you cannot hide your data entirely, you must intentionally poison the well by feeding the system a constant stream of confusing and contradictory information. And this starts with the VPN pipe divert. By using a virtual private network, you artificially reroute your digital exhaust through a series of complex servers located in Switzerland, masking your true point of origin. To handle the smart speakers, there is the tinfoil cravat. This is an aggressive audio-reflective tactic designed to bounce the gossip whistle's own sonar back at itself until the microphone is completely overloaded. This equation is the Babbage-Python constant. It calculates your resulting privacy level by taking the number of VPNs you use, multiplying it by your active paranoia, and dividing it all by your desire for free pizza delivery squared. Convenience is the ultimate tax on security. Which brings us to the Ministry's ultimate disguise for interacting with the digital world, the mustache defense. You rotate through an ongoing series of false identities, like a disgruntled haberdasher or 3 badgers in a waistcoat, to make tracking nearly impossible. To finalize your certificate of compliance, you must adopt the persona of a 19th century chimney sweep online and immediately begin employing a silly gait, walking as if you are 3 small children in a trench coat, to completely baffle the street corner recognition sensors. The inevitable reality is that we will be tracked, mapped, and turned into statistical pie charts for marketing firms in East London. But using these defensive protocols transforms a passive surrender into an act of intentional tactical absurdity. According to the Ministry, awareness of this mechanical game accounts for roughly 4% of the battle, a small margin perhaps, but the only one that keeps us from total cognitive automation.